Hello folks, welcome to season 1 episode 10 of Maintenance Motorway. Now in this episode we're going to be talking about how to check your power steering fluid. Now the power steering fluid is held in this reservoir, and when you turn your power steering to the left or the right, your steering to the left or the right, the fluid basically goes out through this reservoir outlet and goes into the power steering pump. You can see the outlet hose is a bit smaller than the inlet hose because that helps to build more pressure going into the power steering pump to help generate more pressure so that can assist you in turning your steering wheel. Okay, so it basically cycles through this outlet hose, goes into the power steering pump, which is down here, okay, with all your other accessories, the other accessory driven by the belt, goes in there and then cycles through to the power steering rack, helps you kind of turn left and right, and then basically comes back to this hose here, and then back into the reservoir. So today we're going to talk about how to check this fluid. It's extremely important that the fluid is up to the level it needs to be, and it's important that it's also clean so that you don't get debris and other foreign materials and particles into your power steering system, because that can damage your system. Okay, so let's take a look. Now as you can see, this is one of those fluids that has the hot minimum and maximum level, and then it also has the cold minimum and maximum level. As you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but that was the hot, and the cold is somewhere here. It's maybe hard to see, but there is hot and cold. Just because this fluid expands so much when it is heated and cooled, okay? When it's heated it expands, and then when it's cold it contracts. So it's important to understand that when you check in power steering fluid. So if you just came from a long drive, or your vehicle has been on for a while, and you're checking your power steering fluid, you check using the hot level, and then when it's cold you check using the cold level, okay, which is here. This vehicle has been sitting for a while, so as you can see we have this cold side here, which is what we're going to use. Now this is the maximum line for the cold, and this is the minimum line for the cold. We can see here that we're just about the maximum line for the cold, which actually forms the minimum line for the hot. Okay, so now that we know that the vehicle is sitting for a while and the fluid level is here, we know that we don't need to put any power steering fluid in this vehicle. So this is pretty easy to check. Some vehicles don't have a container which is that easily graduated, or there are a lot of other components on the power steering fluid, so it's not so easy to check. In such vehicles you have to take off the power steering cap and use that as a gauge. So assuming we didn't have an easy way of checking the container for the level of the reservoir, for the level of the fluid, we would have to come here and just take this off, give it a good wipe, and you set it back in, and then just take it back out. So this is the lowest level, corresponds to the minimum, and let me turn it this way so you can see these two dots here right across from each other forms the center right here, which is where the maximum cold is and where the minimum hot is. So that's this point, and then this is where the maximum hot is. So we can see this corresponds to what we saw. We were right at the maximum line for the cold, which is right here. Okay, so as long as you stay within this range, this top two here to this bottom, well, you don't want to get to the bottom, somewhere in between, halfway of the cold point to somewhere at the top is okay. That should be more than enough brake fluid to a power steering fluid to do the job. Okay, and you want to make sure it's clean, there isn't any debris and stuff in there, and you should be good to go. Because of the amount of dust and potholes we deal with in Ghana, oftentimes this fluid is contaminated, because what happens is that when you bump into a pothole, it will damage the power steering rack, and then that gives some, I guess, opportunity for dust to get into the power steering rack, and that circulates and finds its way into the reservoir. Okay, so it's always a good thing. I always recommend checking a power steering rack, say once a month, just to make sure it's good. You can have your mechanic do it just to make sure it's good, and if it's starting to see damage, you can just fix it immediately to prevent dirt and dust and other contaminants from getting into your power steering system. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please share, like, subscribe, and as always, don't text and drive, don't drink and drive, and always practice defensive driving. See you in the next video.